Delighted now to be joined by Gort senior hurler Craig Lally and Galway under-20 hurling manager Brian Hanley to look ahead to the county final between Loughrea and St Thomas's at 1:30 in Pearse Stadium this Sunday, and preview who will get their hands on the Tom Callanan Cup this weekend. Lads, before we get into it, county final comes this weekend. There's always a lot of pressure and different stuff. Craig, you've experienced county finals. What's it like now for the players leading into the game this week?
Yeah, it's excitement, number one. It's a great honour to play in the county final, so loads of excitement, loads of buzz around the towns, around the village there in Thomas's, and obviously I see there in Loughrea there's a lot of banners and flags going up, and just great excitement. It's great for the kids and for the families and for the players as well. I suppose they're probably trying to stay away a small bit from the exciting side of things and more focus on the game, but definitely for the kids and the families and the neighbours and the locals around the area. It's good buzz around the place, and definitely a sense of great enjoyment, and hopefully the weather holds up for it.
What's the way like now as a player? Is that the most frustrating thing? Does it feel like, I suppose, the week of the game, that this game has taken ages to come around?
The 2-week break, like, it's not too bad, but yeah, look, I suppose the first week when you get back and you get the excitement dies down in the semi-final, you start thinking about the final and you're going through, and you probably put in a hard week the first week. But yeah, this week now in particular, and these days, today, tomorrow, and Saturday in particular, they just really, I suppose, drag on a bit, and you just want the game to come. Like, but look, I suppose it's important to enjoy these days as well, because these are the days you enjoy the most leading up to it. Like, so and they don't come around that often in most cases. But maybe Brian will be different there now, but he's seen a few of them in his day, but like, they don't come around that often. And look, it's very important to enjoy them and enjoy the build up as well. I know it's hard and you're trying to think about the game, but enjoy the build up and enjoy the conversations you're having with your family and your friends, etc.
And Brian, like, as Craig mentioned, like, as well as Craig, like, you've experienced county finals, I suppose. What's the whole experience about it, I suppose? What makes it so special?
I suppose for us, the few years we did in 9 of them, I think, we participated in. And I think looking back, you don't realise how big an issue it was at the time until you play in them. And then, you know, I said to someone from Loughrea last night that, like, we played as underdogs in the first one I played in '94 against SHC. They were over 3 in a row, and then we played in the 3 teams that won '98, '99, 2000 as red hot favourites, and then we lost 2001 to Clarenbridge as red hot favourites. So I suppose it's excitement really, and it's your family, and it's all about that, and it's, you know, a whole community coming together, and you really enjoy it. But it's, you look back at them, and it's only when it's time passes on, and it's 2004 since the last one we won in the club, that you realise how lucky we were to have played in them, and how lucky we were to have won a few of them.
Isn't that what it's about though, Brian? Like you mentioned, I suppose 04 the last time, and like, people can get caught up in the moment and mightn't, I suppose, cherish that moment of being in a county final.
Yeah, and if you like, I was at under 20 in the gym the other night, and Keith Daniels from Loughrea, and I said, when was the last, when did you win it last? And he said, well, 2006, and then we weren't in the finals since 2013. And I remember at the Ryan in '88, I was only 10 or 11 or whatever it was, and I remember they win in '80 or '87 it was. And I remember thinking they'll be here every year. The club didn't win it again until '94, and then we were lucky. And no more than Gort, as Greg will tell you, at the time you think this we can continue, but it's getting harder now. You know, we had the All-Ireland Club Series in the new year. You know, that's all condensed into before Christmas. Things have changed, but it's a brilliant time for the parish. It's a brilliant time for the players, and it's just.
We just seem to have lost Brian there. I don't know, can you hear us? But for
Can you hear me there now? No?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Have you now?
Sorry, yeah. So I was just saying, like, there are days you'll never forget, and you probably don't realise at the time how good they are, you know?
Absolutely. And I suppose it's interesting there, Craig. Brian mentioned when you come into county final as underdogs, it probably would have happened to you, I suppose, when you did win it in 2012, if I'm not wrong there. Like, is it enjoyable to, like, coming in as underdogs? It's a free shot, there's no pressure at all?
Yeah, like I played in 5 of them, and I suppose the first one we played in back in 2008, we played against Portumna. We were very young at the time. The core group would have been 19 years of age. 18, 19 years of age would have been nearly made up, I'd say 50% of the team. But when we played Portumna that year in 08, they were absolutely in their prime. They were just unstoppable within the county, and they were very, very good. And that was a great experience. It was our first county final, I think, in about 26 or 7 years in the club, and it was brilliant in the lead up. But you get brought back to reality fairly quick when you do lose one. Like it's not a nice place to be in. And then we actually won our first one in 11 and our second one in 14, and we were underdogs for both against Clarenbridge in 11 and again that age in Portumna team in 14, because they were after winning one in 13. And we won, and we were underdogs for both. And then the ones we were supposed to win, or not supposed to win, we were favourites for against St. Thomas's in 16 and Lee Mellows in 17. We lost to both of them. Like, so as Brian said, like, it's like finals are just so strange, county finals. They can, you know, they take on a life of their own, and like the ones you're supposed to win, sometimes you don't win. And like as Brian said, and I definitely agree with him, like they're such special moments. And geez, when you do win them and the final whistle happens, and those 2 or 3 or 4 minutes afterwards, if you could just bottle it, like I know that it's often said, like if you could just bottle that time, but it's just an unbelievable feeling that you'll never ever get back. And it's only when you get into your later years and you look back on it and you say, you know, they were unbelievable times, and you only appreciate them like when 5, 6 years after they're over, I think, or 7 years after they're over, definitely. And it'll be the same for the lads on Sunday.
Just when you say there, Craig, about, I suppose, the feeling, it's hard to describe when you, I suppose, do win that county title. But what are the emotions like at the full time of the whistle when, I suppose, you know you've reached your goal that you probably set out from the start of the year?
Yeah, like, and look at it, and I'd say, as Brian said, it's gone so competitive now in Galway. There's 5 or 6 teams that definitely believe in themselves, or even more, that they could be in with a shot of winning. Like, so there's 5 or 6 teams that go out at the start of every year to go and win the county championship. So when you actually get over the line and like you do get that feeling and the final whistle blows, it's just an outpour of emotion. Like, and if your friends and your family all around you, the final whistle blows. Like for instance, there when I won it, like I had three cousins, first cousins playing. My brother was playing. I had my brother-in-law playing. It was just, that's the way it is. Like, and you look around and you have your parents running onto the pitch and you're trying to grab them, and your neighbour and the lad you went to school with 15 years ago, and he's there and you haven't seen him in 10 years. And it's just all family and friends. And that's just those 5 or 6 minutes when you're hugging everyone and you don't know where to look or turn. And it's just a feeling you'll never, ever, you couldn't, as the saying goes, you can't buy it. Like, and you never will be able to buy it, no matter how rich you are. Like, so it's just a savage feeling. And, you know, and it's the amazing thing is, I think it makes it more special, is not many people get to feel it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a county medal is so, like, it's such a sense of entitlement. Like, it's so nice to win a county medal, and it's a privilege. It's an absolute privilege. And like, the lads on Sunday, whether it be Thomas's to go on and win their 5 in a row, or Loughrea to win their first one since 2006 or 7-6, it's something that it can never be replaced, and it's something that it's very special, as I said.
I think on that as well, the bigger thing for me, for us, was once you got a taste of the club series, like that was unbelievable. The best days of our life were 17th of March. You know, you do a bit of training in December, and you were back the 1st of January, and you were playing inter-county teams, and it was a whole different world. And we were fortunate enough to win the 3 of them. But I think for Thomas's and this group of lads, it won't define them whether they get to that holy grail of winning that or not. But I think that drive for them has to be there, particularly after what happened to Luton, the club's 3 final. Probably the best performance I've seen Thomas play in the 5 years was in that game last year. So I think that's another side of it, Greg. You played that All-Ireland series. It's wonderful. Like, that is even bigger occasion than this Sunday to play in that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And you've the whole county behind you then, and it's gone down, and you're playing the semi-final, and everyone's behind you, and it's just an unbelievable experience. Like, unfortunately, I've never got the experience of playing in an Ireland final, club final, but the 2 semi-finals I did play, they were just unbelievable. And like, as you said, Brian, it pushes you on again when the championship does start again, to get going and get back there, you know.
And Brian, just, I suppose, to bring it in, like, I suppose it's just showing, I suppose, the underage talent that's like being produced in Galway. Like, there's young players on both sides on the Loughrea side this weekend and on the St. Thomas's side as well. But I suppose with the underage that's being produced on both of these sides, what would you put the success like when you look at the Loughrea and Thomas's when you're having those younger players coming through?
Well, I think they're not the same in where their clubs are profile-wise and age within what we've seen. Loughrea certainly have a lot of young lads coming through. They've had a lot of representation at inter-county level at all grades up where Thomas's, in my 7 or 8 years from under 16 up to currently, we had John Head at under 16 and we've Connor Head 2 years ago in the minor. Where Loughrea, I suppose in our teams that won with Shane Morgan then 2019 and albeit very little last year because he was injured. Then the 2021, the under 20s last year, he was on the previous year minor as well with Kieran Hanrahan and we had Tiernan Killeen, and like they've been producing at that level players for that the whole way up along, but they have a big difference goal for numbers. Like you got to look at Thomas; they're not pulling up the same per pool as the town is, like and that's where you see the problems will arise down the road. Where I think long-term Loughrea have potential to be in more county finals now than Thomas's, but I suppose it's the here and the now for Thomas on Sunday.
Just with Thomas's, like there's a potential here for 5 in a row, and I'm going to put this question to you, Brian, and it's probably a question that we're going to hear. Like, do you feel if Thomas's can get the victory this weekend, do they go down as the greatest team in the Galway Hurling Club Championship?
Look, for me to keep winning, then we put 3 in a row and we got beaten in the 4th one. We came back and won again and lost again and won again. So we won seven county middles that time in the 10 years, or whatever it was. Or Tumla won whatever they did. They won 4 or 5, I think, and they put all Ireland clubs with it. Thomas have won an Ireland club. All the good teams have come along, like Garts have won their 2 counties. Different clubs at a different groups of players made different times. Put 5 in a row. It's unbelievable. Like all I heard was 6 in a row. The Turlock did it back in, I think it was the 50s or something that used to be said to us. But in the modern game, modern era, to put 5 in a row, it's standout. And that's why for Thomas, I still believe that the drive for them to get the All-Ireland club with this team is that's just going to be their real aim at the end of all this. But they have to be. You'd have to say to what they've done 5 years in a row, winning Sunday will be, I don't think we'll see it again.
Do you feel they're right up there, Craig, if it's achieved this weekend?
Yeah, but, like they're right up there for sure. Like it'd be some achievement to do 5 in a row without a doubt. And like as Brian said, like the Brian's Athenry team there was an unbelievable team and backed it up with a lot of our Irelands. For Tumla, I think they won 6 counties and 4 Irelands as well in their run. Like that was an unbelievable team as well. And they're right up there. They're right up there as it is anyway. Like a lot of those lads have 5 county medals. They're going for their 6th, whether it be 5 in a row. So like they're a serious outfit, and without even winning on Sunday, they're still in the same conversation as the rest of them. So they are without a doubt. Even the SHC teams back in the day in the 90s.
This weekend, like we're talking, the Loughrea young guns, it's a new experience. Then you're talking with the Thomas's lads, Craig, it's experience. They've been there, they've done it when it mattered. Like, how much does experience count this weekend?
Yeah, it definitely counts for a lot. Like, and you've seen that in the semi-final and the quarter-final so far. Thomas's experience, like especially in Cap Tackle in the quarter-final, Cappy came back at them there in the second half. Thomas's experience got them through. They really pushed on. They got the goals when they needed to get the goals in fighting stages. And same the semi-final, the last day against Sarsfields, like they got their purple patch, and when they got it, they just caused mayhem. And they didn't panic at all in the first half when they were down. They didn't panic at that at all, and that's experience, and you can't beat that. But they also, like in all fairness to Thomas's, they've brought through a few young players over the last the last 2 or 3 years as well. Like they've played in there 2 or 3 great players who will feature on Sunday if not start. So, and Loughrea have plenty of experience in their ranks as well. Like Johnny's a long time around now, and Jamie and Neil Keary and these lads, Sean Sweeney, Paul Hooban, like there's loads of experience in the Loughrea team as well, albeit they mightn't have the same amount of county finals played as Thomas's. So Loughrea are young, that's for sure. They've probably maybe 2 or 3 more younger players than Thomas's, but in saying that, they've lads there that have played in the county, in the club championship for the last 10, 12 years. So in some cases 15 years. So it bodes very well. And definitely, without a doubt, the 2 best teams in the county this year in the club championship.
I suppose the only kind of bit of a downside, Brian, you could have to this weekend is, like, I'd say we're all hoping the weather nearly kind of just stays somewhat all right, because I suppose the middle of November to be playing the county final, like, we'd all love to, I suppose, to be having this a lot earlier than the other championships, but it's just the way, I suppose, it works out in Galway every year.
It is, yeah, and that's there, for everyone to deal with. I think the weather so far is it stays the way it is now, crisp and dry. But it's how you handle the whole occasion, and the weather is part of that. That's out of your controllables. And you're going into a game like that, you can't control anything other than yourself, and the best you can be, and the most you can get out of each other. So I think that's nothing that can prepare you for that other than your own mental strength.
And Brian, as we were touching there, like we were talking about, I suppose, Thomas's and their experience, like it's safe to say this weekend, like you have an experienced team coming up against probably a Loughrea team, that there's probably going to be a lack of fear with nothing to lose this weekend.
Yeah, but tradition is a funny thing though. Like, Loughrea have lost a lot of county finals. Like, a lot of good players in Loughrea have been the wrong side of that. We all know. So it depends. Again, it's like they'll be very well managed and very well coached. They're a very well drilled team there. I'd imagine, they've cocooned themselves in the semi-final and they'd have to have, but if it's the mindset of them, it's like, you got to also say, like, the youth side of it show no fear. Like, I've seen that the last 2 or 3 years, that they're fearless. Like for Tiernan and Hanley, Margie, that played, particularly Tiernan and Hanley, the last 2. Last year, never, like, Tiernan went on to play on the Galway seniors, so they have no fear. But I think, like, Cayman Killian isn't on the Loughrea team at the moment. He may get to start the next day if Margie's out injured. He may not, but like, he's got serious. He's played for Galway, captain of Galway under 20 team 2 years ago. They have a lot of experience. So it's how they handle the occasion. And if you do that, you'll
And Craig, like, how much do you feel the addition of Craig Kennedy? Like, he's worked with Matty Kenny at Dublin, worked with Matty Kenny at Coola. Like, the addition of him into a backroom team when he's coming with that kind of experience, like it definitely has an impact this year in Loughrea.
Oh, without a doubt, he's so much experience there, as is Gavin. Gavin Keary's worked with Clare, Dublin. He's been involved with club teams around the county. Gavin has loads of experience. Nigel Murray has loads of experience. Like Shane Cusick has loads of experience, even with inter-county. Like they've put together a backroom team there that's second to none, really. Like, it's basically inter-county standard, the backroom team they've put together. So like I suppose they're going out every day with a game plan. Like, and even when we played them earlier on in the year, they had a game plan where the ball went in quick to Joe Mooney, and Martin McManus inside, and that was the quick ball, and they made hay, and the runners come off the half-hour line. But if you look at their game for the quarter-final or semi-final, they've changed around again. Jamie's carried the ball, Neil has carried the ball. They've popped over scores from 50 and 60 yards. So they've changed with the weather because the pitches got slower. So that all comes from the backroom team, like, and they're very well advanced, like, and they've been through it all before. And like, as I said there, as Brian was on about there, the county final and getting caught up in a county final and young lads playing off the cuff, that can happen. Like, but what I've seen with this Loughrea team is they've no fear. Them young lads have no fear whatsoever. Like the young lads that are only probably 2 or 3 years playing club hurling, they're playing with no fear, like, and they're just playing as they see it, like. And I think that'll stand to them on Sunday, because they can't have any fear, because if they show fear to the likes of Thomas's, they're such an experienced team and a seasoned team that they'll smell blood, like, and they'll wipe them out if they show any fear, like. And I think they need to go out and they need to play like that on Sunday. And I think Greg and Gavin and Shane Cusick and Nigel and all them lads, they'll have them drilled up to go out and just play off the cuff and give it all they have, like, and don't be playing with any fear.
And Brian, as Craig, like I suppose, ran through all of the names in that Loughrea setup, like it, as he said, it's nearly like an inter-county setup, but I suppose like that's probably set the standards from Loughrea from the very first day, I suppose, that this management team took a session.
Yeah, it probably did. But the one person that wasn't mentioned there was Tommy Kelly, and it was 2019. We were in the minor final of Open Crow Park. Tommy was out on holidays in Italy and cancelled it early to come home to see the two Loughrea lads playing. And I referred to it at half time in Crow Park about what it meant to play for the county, but it was your club that had you there. And I think, I think you can't underestimate what Tommy would have done for that group, because I know him down through the years, but I don't know how he operated in a team environment. But from what I can gather, from what I know, he's gelled them all together. His man management skills are excellent. The boys are all well looked after. The little things that go unnoticed by coaches and by other people, he's picking up on. And I think that could be the main reason that they've got the things right. He's a very, very proud club man. You can see it. Like he'd message you the same as if it was your own club when it comes to our games. And I just think that could be a catalyst for where this year has got the extra 10 or 15% that they may not have had. And I think, that they are very well drilled. I was talking to a certain player from Turlockmore after their game, and the first thing he said was Loughrea were well drilled, but they're going to have to, because who they're in Sunday is probably the most perfect, well-oiled machine you can meet in club hurling at the moment.
And like just one there, Brian, like, because you obviously said there, Tommy Kelly well, the rise of Loughrea. Like, are you surprised, I suppose, when you look at that management team, and they probably still feel they're in somewhat of a developing phase, but are you surprised that they have reached the county final this year?
Not from knowing the caliber of player they've had. No, I'm not at all. Like, Loughrea, to be fair, have been always at the business end of championship for as long as I can remember, really. Do you know what I mean? They're never, and you see what's coming through, like Tiernan, the way they are, the way, like, they have their age profile is very good. It's in a good spot, their age profile. That's standing to them. And I'm not surprised. No, like, they haven't been beaten this year. They won the league. They haven't been beaten in anything they played in. So you couldn't be surprised. Like, they were always going to be, like, there was 4 teams in the semi-final, I think, were the 4 best teams hurling in Galway Championship. Turlockmore mightn't agree with that, but I think the 4 teams that played semi-finals were the best 4. And I think when you go from there, it's not a surprise Loughrea are where they are.
Craig, just on the Thomason side of things, like David Burke, Conor Cooney, 2 massive leaders in this group. You've played inter-county hurling with them. What makes them such leaders?
Yeah, like, I suppose 2 different leaders in different ways, really. Like, I think Conor leads the way on the pitch, what he does. Like, he's just to grab the game by the scruff of his neck kind of a player. Like, if you're down by 2 or 3 points, he's the man that'll go and he'll score 3 or 4 monster points, or he'll get that monster goal, and he'll pull the team along with him by his actions. Whereas I think with Davy's just a leader. He'll like that now as well. He'll act in the field, but he'll do it in his way. He'll tell lads to go here, there, and everywhere. Or he'll make the instruction. He'll make that call that needs to be called. So 2 leaders in 2 different ways, but they make it all gel, really. Like, and they're the spine of the team. And I just think that they're definitely they're the main reason in my eyes of why they're so successful at the minute. St. Thomas's, is because they're the 2 men that are behind it. And you've seen that the last day with Conor. Like, he just got 2 or 3 absolute monster points in the semi-final when they were needed. And Davy does what he does best. He sits back in the pocket and he gets control of the game, and he just runs the show. Like, so the 2 of them are definitely the spine of the team.
And lads, it's safe to say as well, like, Conor Cooney, I suppose, with this 5 in a row, Craig, he has been the standout forward in Galway club hurling. I don't think anyone can argue that. No,
without a doubt. Like, he's definitely, like, probably the best club hurler in the county for the last 4 or 5 years. He'll do it all. Like, he'll work back. He'll get long distance points. He'll get goals when they're needed. Been solid on the frees. So, like, credit where it's due. Like, he's been brilliant, and he's definitely been the one that he's got the whole 6 unit forward there moving. Like, and they're very, as Brian said, they're so well oiled. Like, like, if Conor goes in full and Dara goes centre, I think that happened in the was it the last group game, or maybe it was the last group game, Conor went in full and caused mayhem. And, you know, it's just, they can sit into any position, and that comes with experience and time. But it's all centered around him, like, and he's just been brilliant the last 4 or 5 years, and it's been probably one of the main reasons that they're going for the 5 in a row on Sunday.
The one concern Thomas's will have, and I suppose no one really knows yet, Brian, James Regan's fitness. He went up for that high ball against Sarsfields, didn't look in great shape. If he's not fit, I suppose then there's a decision. Do you bring back in Shane Cooney into a game like this? But then as well, Victor Manzo, like 1-1, came on, changed that game against Sarsfields.
Yeah, I suppose the only thing that stands to you big time there is champions know how to win and they find ways to win. So, like, they'd have had 2 weeks to deal with that. It's not as if this injury or this situation happened last night, which really throws you up the left. So, like, they've had 2 weeks. They'd have come off that victory straight away thinking, right, what are we going to do here? So their next night don't train, and they were already planning for what comes next. So what they do, they'll know, they'll have that, you know, they'll have that thought out. You know what I mean? It's not like 5 minutes into the game this happens, you know, you're tweaking straight away. So they'll be prepared for that. But when you're winning like that, you get the Thomases know how to win. They know they're solid at the back. You know, they've got Bernard and David midfield. You know, like if Bernard Burke puts in a performance like he did in the Ireland Club semi-final last year, that's enough to win a game for most teams, like on his own. You know, James Regan will be a huge loss if he's not able to play. Anyone with a hamstring injury, you'd always worry about it within 2 weeks. If it is a bad hamstring injury, there's no way he'll play. Even if it's a niggle, you might get 10 or 15 minutes out of him, then that goes off. Do you start him? Do you bring him on? That all brings its own uncertainty, you know. But I think that won't phase them, because when Thomas have been used to being backs to the wall, which they have this year in certain games, you know, like David Burke went off injured in the game against Cambridge, if memory serves me correct, this year, and they were down maybe something like 10 points and they came back and won the game. So champions will find a way, and they are that. And you know, I think they'll have their contingency plans in place, and they'll just deal with it.
As you talked there, Brian, champions will find a way. Like, that belief and that confidence Thomases have, like, even when they're struggling, even when they're not playing well, they'll just find that way coming down the home stretch.
They will, but they have leaders that have proved that. You know what I mean? They have, you know, leaders Fenton and Shane all over. They have Conor up front. You know, they can go to so many different people. Oisin Flannery can dig them out. It was 2 years against Turlock. Oisin Flannery was the main man, but with a hamstring injury, I think he won 2 or 3 frees in and at the line, a very wet day against Turlock, got them over the line. You know, like Kenneth Burke knows him. He's hurled with them. You know the makeup of them. They'll trust each other. They'll you know what I mean. They've got good lads. Like all the Burkes. They're not going to go like in up front. Yeah, one big day again. You know, they've got match winners everywhere. So one person. I used to always say about a county final or a big game, usually it's the unknown player or the least expected player that puts in the biggest performance normally gets the team over the line. All the county players and all your bigger players will always be at an average of a 7 or an 8. Some will be outstanding, do the bit extra, but it's the players, the unmentioned players coming into the game, that if you get 2 or 3 of them to get up to a standard 8 or 9, or a forward to get to 1, 2, or, you know, something like that, that's what normally tips the scales in your favour. And Thomas have enough players and enough lads to do that and know how to do that, you know.
And Craig, do you start Shane Cooney this weekend?
Like, it's a big, like, in all fairness to Mark Caulfield, he's been doing well. He was good in the semi-final, played well in the quarter-final, done his job. Kenneth will know what he's at. Like, he'll know himself how things are going at training with Shane. Like, you know, it's very easy for us to stand back here, but Shane probably hasn't played, you know, intense hurling in probably a year since the injury. So or definitely 8 or 9 months. So he'll know himself, Shane, his own body as well. But like, if things are going well at the minute and Kenneth thinks he doesn't need to, maybe not. But like, the only thing is, like, Shane is such an experienced player, top class player. If things are going well, it'd be hard enough to leave him off at the same time, especially if James is injured. Maybe Victor Manzo, who did very well when he came on the last day, got the goal straight away and a point not long after it. But if James is injured, then maybe he could jiggle around the team to get Shane in. But James will be a loss. Like, James is such an experienced player, and like, I think he got it. Did he get his 4 or 5 points in last year's or 2 years county final? Like he's a very, very seasoned player. He's been around a while now. He's been on that Thomas team a while, so he will be a loss. But as Brian said, like Davey went off against Clarenbridge after 15, 20 minutes and they managed to win the game. Shane has been missing all year. Fenton was out for a while with a shoulder injury. So they're finding ways to win, as Brian said, champions do. So it's no more than if James is missing the next day, Shane doesn't start, if he only comes on. That won't bother them, like, because as Brian said, they have leaders there. They have enough lads that will stand up. Dara stood up in county finals before. Aina stood up in county finals before. They have match winners all over the field. Like Keane Mahoney stood up there in the last while as well. Like maybe he's going to be doing a man marking job the next day, and Jamie Ryan, whatever it may be, they have loads around the field to make up for it. But it's a tough one to know. Like until you're actually at the pitch and seeing Shane how he's moving every day, because we've only seen snippets of him for 10 or 15 minutes. I'm sure I spoke to myself not so long ago, and he's feeling great himself. But I suppose only Kenneth can call that, really.
It's the flexibility as well, Craig. Like with Shane Cooney, like you think if Shane Cooney starts, that he might be thrown into maybe a fullback or centre back position. It's the flexibility to, like as you were saying with Conor Cooney, they move him inside. It throws, I suppose, Loughrea what do they do? Like you can literally put Shane Cooney in so many positions.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like I seen that there the last day when he came on against Capitagle in the quarter final. He was playing fullback. He came on fullback, so I don't think he's played fullback in a while. Centre back is obviously his most comfortable position, but as you said, like it just throws another spanner in the works for Loughrea to think about. But like as I said, like it's he had a bad injury. Only he can tell himself about his own body, and I'm sure Kenneth will be able to see how he was going to train. And so it's a very hard call for us here to say whether. But like if he was fully fit, he's such a top class player, it'd be very hard to leave him out.
To get into a couple of the key matchups in this game, Brian, like you're looking at the Loughrea forwards. There's obviously four forwards that have been very central: Neil Carey, Joe Mooney, Martin McManus, Jamie Ryan. Like who do you think will be picking them up for Thomas's this weekend?
Sure, it's very hard to know what way Thomas is going to line up when you wouldn't be involved and you wouldn't be sure. But on that, I think of any game going, I think goals are going to decide this in the next because both teams have the capability of getting goals. Loughrea could have got more goals against Clarenbridge last day. Thomas could have as well. And I think it's whichever set of backs can limit the goal chances and keep them out. Like, Clarenbridge still created 2 or 3 chances the last day. If they nailed 1 or 2 of them, particularly the one before halftime, was a great save. Thomas is, I think, going to probably need to score goals to win this game ultimately. But it's going to be whatever set of backs I believe can get on top. That's where this game will be won or lost. Because forwards will get points and there will be frees and that'll happen. But it'll be the goal chances. And if you can limit the team to 3 goal chances and they get 1, and if another team gets 6 goal chances, they'll probably get 3. So that's what it's going to boil down to. And I think, regarding the matchups or anything, that's I'd be silly to try and guess them because it could go anyway. But I think you'll be setting your stall out to be as defensive minded as you can and to limit the goal chances.
With that point as well, like goal chances, you talked about Clarenbridge, but like from a Loughrea perspective, like looking at that Sarsfields game, I know Sarsfields were well beaten in the end, Brian, but there was Sarsfields that probably even look back at that semi-final with regrets maybe on their shooting accuracy, and that's something that I'll have to give Loughrea confidence knowing that Sarsfields were able to create those opportunities.
Yeah, and I think Jamie Ryan from Loughrea, like, who's been an outstanding club hurler for the last so many years, like he's been excellent. Like he probably been unfortunate not to have got a run at Galway at some stage, but Jamie's direct running has made a huge difference this year. When he's got the ball in the games, he's gone direct. And if he can go direct and go at the heart of Thomas's, that's where you got to see that they'll because he's spreading the ball. He's not shooting himself all the time. He's spreading it. They've got runners like Tiernan came out, got 2 points. The last it was in, set up a goal. They're direct running. And I think that's where I see Loughrea having their benefit. No matter what way you get a matchup, if you can get the running direct and get straight down the middle, you're going to cause trouble. But I still think it'll be goals that whoever can get the 2 or 3 and an early goal for a team and can build on that. You're always picking it back this time of year. You started your podcast about the conditions there this time of year, and that if you can get a goal or 2 at all in a county final, it's worth 10 scores. It takes And the stats have proven during the summer period, when you get a goal, it takes 6 attacks to get that back on average. So you can imagine in the winter hurling, if you get a goal or two, you're talking probably about 13 or 14 attacks to get them 6 points back. That's roughly the stats, what it breaks down, and the data is available to anyone involved in hurling. So it just shows you how huge that will be. And I think that'll be for both teams the next day. That goal chance presented itself to Sarsfields before half time, the last time to put the ball over the bar. So you know what I mean? They're the little things. If you look at them game of inches, and that's a huge thing. The next day is every goal is probably 6 attacks before they'll get that goal back. And I think that's where the team that does be more proficient in that area will win the game.
And it's like with that as well, free takers the next day are just going to be absolutely vital. We're nearly saying it all the time with these conditions. Don't want to feel like I'm nearly repeating myself, but Craig as well, like, would you see David Burke and Johnny Cohen tying up against each other this weekend?
Personally, in my own opinion, I don't think so. I think they might bring out Keane Mahoney. Keane Mahoney's been a bit of for Johnny Cohen, I think might Connor Cooney. I think my own self, maybe Johnny's playing 6, so Connor will play there. The biggest question you might see there is if Connor starts coming out the field, does Johnny follow him out? You know, he came out the field in the semi-final. Does that leave a gap there then to be exposed? So, and on the same side, if Jamie plays at 11, who follows Jamie? Does Mark Caulfield, or do they bring Keane Mahoney out? Then David sits back into the pocket. There's loads of different ways and means, and if you look at the teams, like they're two 15s that are always moving around, as I mentioned earlier on. Like, so there's loads of different dilemmas, like, as well. I suppose in the inside line, then does Fenton pick up Martin McManus, who's having a great year, or Joe Mooney's having a great year, and do you move Keane out, or John Head maybe picks up someone there? So yeah, I know. I think Johnny fought O'Connor. I think Johnny's job will be Connor for the day, and try and nullify him and try and stop him scoring as much as he can. And then on the other side, then as well, I think Davey's just going to play free. But I think the biggest battle of all will be the midfield battle. Brian mentioned it there with Bernard. Like, if Bernard can have an on day, like he's able to do anything. Like, he got that goal against Cap Tagle at a vital stage in the quarter final, and he can just bomb on. I think Davey and Bernard midfield against, like,
I think we seem to have lost Craig there.
Yeah, but on that point, I don't think either side are going to be losing much sleep over each other. I think they got to set up themselves to be as attack minded as they can themselves, because if you go and concentrate on the other team as much as that, you know what I mean, you're going to lose. Yeah, you're going to know what they do in certain situations and where they play the ball most often, where they go 2 minutes and all that, but you have to hurl yourself. If you don't hurl yourself, you're not going to win the game. And that's why you've got to concentrate on your own controllers, which is how you play yourself and your own team, and they've got to be ruthless. Like, whichever team comes out and is more score efficient and is more free efficient, I think everyone knows going into the game is going to be an 8 out of 10 for the free takers regardless. So that anomaly could, cancels out each other. So I think really they'll do a little bit of work on the matchups and that, or where they go and what they want to. But you could also see Tiernan going back 6. Tiernan was outstanding for us at 6 and at the minor level, I know, and he's
running as well. The last day, Tiernan Killeen was outstanding, Brian.
He's a very, very good hurler, like, so he could go there. He's been brilliant in the backs. He can play him before. So they've got a lot of, players can adapt to different positions. But as for where each one will start, when you're not inside the inner sanctum, and even if you are, you wouldn't say it. So it's hard to know on that. But I think the goal thing will, on Sunday evening, I know they say goal win games, but this time of year they're worth so much more than just 3 points,
Just before we get to predictions and the deciding factor, Craig, like another player that outstanding in the semi-final, haven't really mentioned him too much, Éanna Burke, like this is a key battle for Loughrea. Yeah,
definitely. Like, Éanna has been, as the more than Bernard, if Éanna turns it on, he can score 5, 6, 7 points in play, like, and he really showed up in the semi-final, and if he gets the ball in hand, he's deadly, like. So that'll be a great battle. It'll be interesting to see if Shane Morgan is fit. Will he pick him up, or you know, if he plays inside full, Paul Hoobin's having a good year for Loughrea there at full back. So that'll be interesting to see. As Brian said, like I don't think they're going to get caught up too much in matchups. I do think they'll be focusing in on the main players. Like Connor, obviously, he'll have to be watched, and Jamie Ryan on the flip side will have to be watched, and that like. But it'll come down to, as Brian said, the frees as well. Frees is going to be massive, and you have two of the best free takers in the county. Like Neil Carey's been absolutely brilliant in frees all year, as is Connor. So that'll be a big factor. The goals will be definitely a big factor, and I think the subs as well. I think Ryan mentioned earlier on the podcast there about the strength and depth of Loughrea. Like when you're bringing on Cam and Killeen there as a sub, and he's been on the county panel at the start of the year, it's massive. No, that's if he doesn't start, and it's no more than like Sean Sweeney didn't start the last day. Maybe he'll start the next day, who knows? But it's just a strength and depth. And Loughrea as well, like Brendan Farrell there, he's done it before for Loughrea in the past. So you're able to bring on him, and like, you know, it's the strength and depth of both panels. So I think that'll be a big factor in it as well. But I think that like it'll be interesting because both teams are pacey. Like Loughrea do a lot of running with the ball. You're on about Tiernan Killeen. GC carries an awful lot of ball in the game. Like Ian Hanrahan carries an awful lot of ball, as is Davy Bernard. So it'll be, and matchups as well. It'll be all out war as well. Like two very physical teams that won't be backing down from each other.
Brian, to come to you for your prediction, you said goals is going to be key. Who's getting the hands on the Tom Callahan Cup and why?
I don't know, to be honest, because you can argue equally for both sides. You know, you've got a young, vibrant team that's hungry coming up for the first time. That stands to you a lot. We're saying that they've no nerves, that they'll be fearless and all that. And then you've got the older warrior that has been there, done that. You know, from my experience, if I was in a Thomas jersey after what happened, losing that All-Ireland Club semi-final last year, hell or high water, I wouldn't want to throw in my crown to get another crack back to that again, because they're not being arrogant about it, and never would be, no more than any team, Sarsfields or Portumna or anyone, or Gart or Loughrea, anyone who's ever done to represent Galway in that. But there's an element of hurt, and that having been there the same as them and lost in the way, you know, that can drive them on. But you've got two sides. Like, I can't believe that Loughrea haven't played in the finals since 2013, haven't won it since 06, I said already. So it's a very, very much a 50-50 game. You could argue for both cases. And I know you say you're sitting on the fence, but you couldn't go in there and bet that, you know, Loughrea are going to win it because or Thomas's are. And I think it'd be unfair to either teams, because Loughrea probably are the standout team in the championship this year, so you put them favourites as that. But Thomas has been the standout team, obviously, for the last 5 years, so you put them favourite as that. So somewhere in the middle, someone will give. Who it is, I don't honestly know, but I just hope.
Is that what you're saying?
Huh?
You're sitting on the fence. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I've got Michael Garrity, who's involved with the 20s, who does all the stats and all the video analysis for St. Thomas, and Keith Daniels from Loughrea, and enough from Loughrea as it is, so I can't go against them. But you know yourself, it is very hard to call, and I hope the day stays fine for both of them, and it is a good game, more important, because I think the two best teams definitely are in it, and I wish both of them the best of luck. And as for a prediction, I'm not giving you one because I don't have one.
So Craig, if you're to call it.
Yeah, no, look, I agree with Brian. Like, I think they're so evenly matched, and two definitely the best teams in the county this year. And as Brian said earlier on the podcast, like, Loughrea haven't lost the game. They've won the league all the way through, didn't lose a championship game, and like deserving to be there. Thomas's, like, they've just been like, it was amazing actually. And it's funny, just the world that we live in. Like, after the Turlockmore game, when they got beat by Turlockmore, there were so many questions. Are they finished? Is it over? All this, like, and like, such stupid questions, really. Like, they've answered that without a doubt, the way they've come back. And you know, they were only getting going after that, like, Turlockmore game. They've gathered pace, so their experience will be just unbelievable the next day. But I'm also going to sit in the fence like Brian, because I think it's too tight to call, so I won't be giving any prediction. I think it's going to be very, very close, very close. I just hope the weather holds up. I think that'll be a major factor. I think it's just going to be really, really close, and I'll sit in the fence as well.
Greg is afraid he'll get a lash from one of them next year. That's okay.
Something like that.
Or whoever buys a carrier, whichever one buys a carrier, maybe.
They're all welcome in to buy a car. That's okay.
As we were saying throughout this, like a massive final expected, a close battle, and the best of luck to Ballygary this weekend, to play in the junior final against Eastkey as well. That's all on our show for today. Thanks a million, lads, for coming on.
No problem. See you.